This episode of Test Drive is brought to you by Elmec and their EV Duty Smart Home Charger, and by HGregoire with 32 dealerships and over 3,000 vehicles in stock.
Well, my friends, I have been so consumed asking myself, could I do this? And I never asked myself if I should. Today, our showdown is on this 2016 Ford Focus ST and my 2018 Ford Focus Electric. Why? Why not? There's not much to compare between these two in the sense that somebody who's looking at a Ford Focus ST is probably not going to be considering the electric and vice versa. But because I've got both of these Mark III Focuses here in my driveway, I figured why not take a look at what makes these two different, what makes them similar, and why they're kind of the same price in today's market. Let's start off with the Ford Focus ST. Original MSRP for this specific vehicle was $30,749 Canadian. We have a couple options on here, or at least we should have. We were supposed to have the upgraded rims on this, along with the 401A package, which adds the tech pack, giving you a bigger screen for the infotainment system and the 10-speaker Sony audio system. The Ford Focus ST uses a 2-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, producing 252 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque, comes front-wheel drive only, and uses a 6-speed manual transmission. How about the Ford Focus Electric? MSRP for this 2018 was $34,998, so about $4,000 more when new. The as-tested price, because we've got essentially the leather seats on here, and we were supposed to have the bag to put your charger in the back, was $36,753. This uses an electric synchronous motor with 143 horsepower, 181 pound-feet of torque, front-wheel drive only, just like the ST, and it comes with a 1-speed automatic transmission. Now, how do these two compare in prices today? Obviously, it's going to depend on condition and your market, but here in Canada, here in Quebec specifically, about 500-kilometer radius from where I am now, something like the Ford Focus ST goes for anywhere from about $13,000 to $27,000. It's going to depend on options, condition, mileage, and the year. Newer ones are going to be a little bit more. How about the Ford Focus Electric? It ranges from about $16,000 to $24,000. So a little bit higher price to get into, but you don't have to spend quite as much to get something at the top end. Like I said, mine's the newest that you could have bought here in Canada, and it comes pretty much fully loaded. Now, the Mark III Focus was produced from December 2010 until 2018. That's when Ford killed it off here in North America. You in Europe get the Mark IV, but this is essentially all we got here. The facelift in 2015 changed the exterior design. Now, that's where things get very interesting on the outside of these vehicles, because our 2016 here is a facelift. You can see the headlights are different, whereas the electric uses sort of the older style headlights. But the front grille on the electric is more in line with what Ford was doing with the Fusion, whereas our ST, obviously a little bit more sport-oriented, but has a nice look to it. It takes that design language and makes it a little bit more aggressive. Around back, the only real difference between these two is the spoiler on the ST, as well as the center-mounted exhaust pipes, which look pretty cool. Plus, the car has a little bit of a body kit all the way around, so it means obviously a different-looking vehicle. But for the most part, the exterior dimensions are pretty much the same. I believe that the ST is just a tiny bit taller than the electric. But what's interesting is what happens on the inside of these two vehicles, because this electric uses up some space for those batteries. So, for example, the maximum cargo capacity on the ST is about 300 liters better. So if you fold all the seats flat, you're getting about 300 liters more cargo space when it comes to the ST. And same goes for the actual trunk space. If you keep all the seats up, you're using it for passengers, you get 660 liters of trunk space with the ST hatchback, only 402 with the electric. Now, we've talked about that on the 2 videos that we've done now on the Ford Focus Electric. Some of the battery packs are actually behind the seat area, so it uses up a considerable amount of trunk space. Bit of a bummer there. But the rest of the passenger dimensions are the same. Both of our vehicles don't have the sunroof. That was an option for the ST, not available on the electric, but the interior dimensions, aside from cargo, are the same. So head space, leg space, width, everything identical between these two cars, meaning if you're like me, you're a bigger guy, you're going to fit in them no problem. But if you're buying either one of these to put some people in, either one will be about the same. And while we're on the topic of the interiors on this, things get quite different. It's interesting. Let's talk quickly about the electric. It's using the pre-facelift steering wheel. bit of a bummer there. But both cars get Sync 3. That was part of the upgrade for 2015 plus, so you get a slightly newer infotainment system. The electric comes with navigation standard. You would have had to option that separately with the ST, even if you got the upgraded tech package like we have here. I guess the trade-off is you get one extra speaker with the ST. There's a trunk-mounted one that you don't get on the electric. But the changes don't end there. We have a heated steering wheel on the ST, plus the bottom of it is flat, more sport-oriented, and it's the updated facelift version. Looks quite a bit nicer. And with the ST, we have Recaro racing seats, which you do not get on the electric. Now, aside from the ST actually having an engine, more power and performance out of it, there are a couple mechanical changes between this. We have upgraded brake pads on here, more sport-oriented, along with a sport suspension, as well as rack and pinion steering, whereas the electric just uses a power-assisted electric steering system, so slightly different there. The ST also comes with front fog lights, which I think look pretty nice, would have been a nice thing to have on the electric. But there are some things that the electric has that our Ford Focus ST doesn't have. First of all, it has zero emissions, right? There's no engine in it. It is an electric motor, so you're hopefully saving the environment by driving it. You get approximately 185 kilometers of electric range with the electric. You get unlimited range with this ST as long as you fill up the gas every so often. The electric also has the ability to use the My Ford mobile app, allowing you to remote start the car, remote lock and unlock, and see the status of your charge with it. It's all built into the infotainment system. The only other exterior change on this, aside from having a remote starter on the key fob, you also have rear parking sensors, something you don't get with the ST. But for the most part, the rest of the vehicles are the same. They're both only sold as 5-door hatchbacks globally. Both of them have HID, high intensity discharge headlights, but not for the high beams, so they're only single HIDs. And both of them have daytime running lights with LED lighting and backup cameras. But again, the electric is sort of the older designs. So it's kind of interesting when you park them side by side and see how they perform. But we need to take both of these cars on a road test. We're going to start off with the Ford Focus ST, continue with the electric, and then we're going to see if you're the 1 in 7 billion person who is actually shopping between these two vehicles. I'll tell you which one you should buy. All right, how do these two cars compare? What a silly showdown. I mean, I was going to start off the whole video saying that I guarantee you'll never see this kind of showdown anywhere else. That I didn't, because you know what, you never know. Somebody might have done something silly like that, and I didn't want to put that guarantee out there only to find out that it exists. But I'm actually enjoying it because, like I said, I just bought my electric. Gives me a good opportunity to see sort of what both, not full ends of the spectrum, have to offer, but two different versions of basically the same car. Now, the interior here, oh, so nice. I love these seats. First of all, that was one of the concerns that I had actually about driving the ST. You know, when I drove the electric before, I fit no problem. It's a good seating position for a big guy like me, no problems whatsoever. But I was told that with these Recaro racing seats, things might not be that great for a big guy like me. But no issues whatsoever. I find they're super comfortable, super supportive, really nice overall. Yeah, they're a little slidey too. I guess the way that HGregoire washes the seats on here makes them feel a little bit better, and I would be a bad host if I didn't mention that they are the reason why we're doing this showdown today. This 2016 Ford Focus ST is available for sale at HGregoire right now as of filming this. If you're interested in buying this car or any of the other 3,000 plus vehicles they have in stock across 32 dealerships in North America, and I say that, obviously most of them are here in Quebec, but they have a number of stores in Florida with some really high-end, expensive supercars. So if you're in the market for a car from HGregoire, use my code promo.hgregoire.com/Nile. You'll be able to save $200 off the purchase of your next car. So back to this though, I mean, I have been enjoying my time with this. I talk about this pretty often. I'm not a manual transmission enthusiast, and I've said that pretty much since the beginning of doing test drive. And I picked this car because it's the only way that the ST comes. So if I wanted to experience it, I would just have to do it, and I'm enjoying it. I said it on the spotlight that we did on this. If you're not a seasoned manual enthusiast like myself, you're maybe newer to it, maybe you're starting out for the first time, you should have no issues with this. The clutch on this, very nice. and the transmission is good too. So a couple things there to note, but how does this compare to the electric? That's the whole point of this episode, right? We're comparing it. It's gonna be up to you, obviously. This car has some good power. Performance on it is much better than it is on the electric. The difference is, though, the electric has pretty much instant power, whereas this you have to work up to, I think it's about 5,800 RPM to get peak power, and then the torque kicks in about 2,000 RPM to 4,500, if I recall correctly off my notes. Obviously, I don't have them in front of me, whereas the electric, it's pretty much instant as soon as you push the accelerator. So it's a slightly different experience there. It would be very interesting to see these two side by side on a drag strip. The thing is, these have performance tires on them, so this thing would grip like crazy. I find on the normal sort of green eco tires I have on the electric, even like 60% throttle, not like ripping it because it's an electric, but if I give it just a little bit too much power, it does chirp the tires a little bit. So I don't have two people, I can't clone myself, so there's not going to be an opportunity for us to do an actual drag race. And also, I'm pretty terrible at driving off the line with this thing, especially in performance mode, so it wouldn't even matter even if I had two of me to do it. But seating on here is good, comfort is good, the drive is good. Even though this has the sport suspension, I'd say it's pretty darn close to the electric. You do feel a little bit more planted on the road. I feel that this has slightly more control, and it's a little bit more forgiving as you take it around some corners. So the sport suspension definitely makes a difference, and the brakes on this are nice as well. So you're getting, obviously, those performance upgrades compared to the electric, but it depends on what you're going for out of your car. If you're looking for a family hauler, that's the reason why I bought the electric. They're going to be pretty close, right? And the thing is, I was seriously considering this car, okay? Seriously considering. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly how much I paid for my electric, but this is just a little bit more. Now, the mileage on this is quite a bit higher, 81,000 kilometers, but I mean, everything works on it. It's in great condition overall. Engine works fine, there's no issues. I think it's stock. So you're getting, you know, a car for about $20,000 Canadian, works well. The thing is, though, you got to pay for gas, right? You don't have to pay for gas with the electric, and that's essentially the reason why I picked that. But I was very, very tempted by these. I've always thought I could see myself driving something like this, and now that I've driven it, I can definitely see that I was right. Except I went with the electric for the gas. So if you're going for one of these, if you're going to buy one of these two that we're comparing here today, it's going to obviously come down to what you're looking for out of a car, because you're paying the $18,000, $19,000, $20,000 for this up front, and then you got to pay for gas all the time. Not so much with the electric. So it's interesting to see, though, this was cheaper new by a few $1,000s Canadian, and even if you compare 2016s, like, prices didn't really change that much. So if you had the exact same model years, they're about the same, but the price today, these are worth a little bit more now. They're sought after, people want these, so it's going to depend on your market, obviously. Some places where electric cars don't sell very well, they're not going to have any of them, and then some places where, I don't know, I guess performance little hot hatches like this aren't really that popular, it's going to be harder to find too. The thing is, you know, I'm being a little cheeky with doing this episode because I know that there's really nobody on earth that is looking at these two vehicles because they are so vastly different, even though they're so similar. But the idea is, you know, if you really are looking between these two, you're getting a versatile vehicle. If you think about the Mark III Focus, it came as a sedan, it came as a hatchback. Now, it wasn't as versatile as my first generation, where it came as a 2-door hatchback, a 4-door car, a 5-door hatchback, and a 5-door wagon, right? That was super versatility there. But when you're looking between the Ford Focus Mark III, you had a couple options where you had different trims. Some of them came with manuals, some of them came with automatics. You have this ST, which is the nice daily driving performance, and then you had the all-out hardcore RS, but you also had the electric. So I mean, the only other car, and I'm sure somebody out there will correct me if I'm wrong, but the only other car I'd say that had that level of versatility was something like the Volkswagen GTI / Jetta, because the Volkswagen, and actually that's probably more versatile, because it came as a Jetta, which is the 4-door, came as the GTI, which was a 4-door hatchback, and then you also had the wagon, the sport wagon, and they also made the electric, and they made the Golf R. So I mean, you had a ton of choice there as well. So I think that if you were looking at a hot hatchback, and you were also thinking maybe to go for the electric instead, it's either going to be this or it's going to be the Volkswagen Golf. Those are the only two choices that I can think of that have that much sort of versatility in the model lineup. And again, with something like the e-Golf, it was pretty much a Golf with an electric, and the Ford Focus is the same thing too. But we do need to go and take a look at the electric. I want to talk about how that is, how it drives, how it compares, and everything else if you're in the market, as we give it a little rip here on Test Drive. Oh yeah! Now we'll go after that blow off. Wow, what a difference between these two cars. Yeah, it is kind of night and day, but also sort of similar at the same time. That's why we're doing this showdown. So we're behind the wheel of the electric. I don't want to go into too much detail about this because, again, we're comparing it to the ST. So if you absolutely wanted to know everything there is to know about either vehicle, we've done spotlights on both of these specific VINs. So both of these cars have got the full test drive treatment. Take a look at them to see absolutely everything about it. But now that we get into this, you know, what a difference. I mean, it still feels pretty similar. I mean, the space on here is good. The seats here, a little bit different, obviously. They're flatter. I feel that the Recaro Racing seats hug quite a bit better than these ones. But, you know, overall, the space is still pretty good on this. I'd say that, you know, again, the dimensions being the exact same, you're getting pretty much usable space between the two that are identical. Now, when I first bought this car, I thought, wow, you know, we got the upgraded interior and everything, it's really nice. I didn't realize that this steering wheel is the old one and the one in the ST is the facelift. Does it make a huge difference? I guess not, but, you know, I mean, it's 2018. It should have had the latest stuff, so a bit of a bummer there. But for the most part, though, this drives very well. Yeah, it's an electric car. If you want torque, you got it instantly. Is it quick? Absolutely not. I believe it's supposed to be limited to 135 kilometers an hour. I couldn't tell you. I'm not driving that quick with this thing. Not that I don't trust it, but I bought an electric car. The idea is for me to save as much as I can and use it in electric mode, i.e. not wasting it on going quick. So you're getting a different experience with it, but you've got that there. So again, is there somebody out there, one human being on earth, that is seriously considering this and the ST? I don't know. I don't know how serious even I was. Yeah, I pretty much had my heart set on an electric. Don't tell my wife, but this is the one I wanted. I probably wasn't going to take any other type of car, so I pretty much had my mind set on the Ford Focus electric specifically. But like I said, I was thinking about the ST. I'm definitely glad I have been able to drive it and to see how they compare back to back, because they are pretty similar, you know. But obviously there's a big difference in performance. Even the handling, I told you, it's close. It's close. But drive them back to back, you can tell. You can tell there's a reason why there's a sport tune suspension and there's sport tune brakes, and then this thing has slimmer tires as well, and they're not quite as grippy. They're meant to be as eco-friendly to your drive as possible. There's a difference, but still, I mean, like, the fundamentals between these two cars are the same. You know, it's familiar. I've got the same infotainment system. I have navigation. Nay, it's nice. Everything else, though, pretty much works the same way. Plus, this isn't automatic, so for me, I set it and forget it. It's also at 1 speed, so who cares? But the idea is, you know, you're getting kind of the same experience. It's just crazy that they're both about the same price. And here in Quebec, I had no idea, but when I was actually looking at this car, I didn't realize that Quebec has a program for used cars for an electric car rebate, but there's a catch. The car could not have been purchased in Quebec originally. So it's why I started to realize that a lot of used car dealerships out here are importing vehicles from Ontario, because now you're getting like up to a $4,000 rebate on a used car because you didn't get that rebate originally on the car. So, you know, if you're here in Quebec and you're looking for something, maybe keep that in mind. You'll be able to save a little bit of money. But the idea is, you know, you're getting a very nice little car. Again, as we talked about on the other road test, it was a very flexible vehicle for Ford in the sense that they made, you know, the RS and base models and everything in between. So you had some choice for what you were looking for. But you know what? After driving both of them, listen, I'm always honest here with you. Always have been, always will be. And yeah, it's been nice driving the ST. Maybe if I had a brand new one, if I had a 2018 with like 800 kilometers on it, with the sunroof, maybe I'd be tempted to have taken it. But I am still pretty planted in my decision in buying the electric, just because it's cost me already $40 in gas to drive around with the ST, and I haven't really done much with it. It's cost me $0 to drive around with this, right? I mean, okay, technically when I plug it in, it's like 40 cents to do this drive here. So for me, ends up coming down to the overall cost of ownership. Yeah, it's fun driving the ST. I enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy the last few days that I have with it before I drop the keys back off at HGregoire and tell them see you later, because they'll be able to sell that thing real quick. But I'm still pretty happy with my decision buying this. That's just me though. I'm sure most of you in the comments would probably take the ST, or, you know, let's be honest, we'd all really want the RS. That's the one to really go for, but you know, those things are like double. You could actually buy this and the ST and still have money for gas for like 2-3 years compared to what the current going prices are for the RS. So keep that in mind. You know, if you're looking for which makes the most sense, 2 cars or 1, right? Should be a simple enough decision. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed our little episode of Test Drive Showdown here. I know it's a little silly, but for the most part, you know, I had both cars here in the driveway. I don't think I'm going to have the opportunity to do something like that again, so I wanted to make it happen, even though it doesn't really make any sense in any fantasy world, but what can you do? So if you have any questions about either one of these vehicles, as I mentioned, we've done full episodes of Test Drive Spotlight for both of them. You can check out those videos, but I will do my best to answer any additional questions you may have about either one or the Showdown in general. Consider giving us a thumbs up as well if you like this, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. As always, I appreciate you watching, and until next time, take care.